Yahoo, Prof here, and I'm running a really a thumper here in the old head, and yet I'm turning on these nice bright lights so you guys can see. Little chilly because I only got my t-shirt on. Great price on these tax write-off t-shirts though. Tell you what, gonna get me some Pocari Sweat in there. See if this is due to, you know, hydration, that sort of stuff. Got some drugs, you know. I've still got to be one of the most refreshing drinks ever made or conceived right there. Oh, I need my glasses too. I mean, I need glasses, but it's been real bad at focusing without them. Like, you ever get that where your eyes focus on two different things? If not, and you wear glasses, you probably will one day. You probably will one day. It's things at a certain distance, right? For anyone why this is still sitting here, is I gotta wrap this guy up. Normally about 3 fingers worth of. I want to double check my DisplayPort cable. Let me actually do that real quick. I'm not gonna wrap it up all on. It takes a little bit, but the DisplayPort cable. These are 10-footers. So yeah, I didn't go over the Club 3D have good enough strain and leaf. I do 3 fingers worth. That's so I can identify it as my cable. If I do leave it with somebody, I take the Velcros off unless they want them for whatever reason, because I always use yellow on mine, and take the tape off. And especially if they pay for it. If they don't, I leave it on there so I know when I come back that that's actually mine that I was using for testing. Turns out I had to steal mine of this for HDMI for my TV when I moved it, because the cables I was using from Belkin, which previously, before Club 3D, were the only ultra high speed HDMI certified cables, and were for, I don't know, 6-8 months or a year. They're only 6 foot. Not even 2 meters, 6 foot. And I needed longer than that. So, stole that from my, that's why it's there. Use it so you have one on hand. It's just been months since I've replenished it. Now, so I can get rid of my chilliness, that is what we're going to be taking a look at. The clunks you heard below are the previous 2 Knipex videos. This is Australia and the UK. That over there is the US. -1 since the Home Depot sent me the wrong one. This is not the Knipex then, this is just the Comfort Grip. And they were about to send me a replacement, but they're out of stock. So options were send this back for a refund, or I actually got 50% off. So this is going to become one of the garage tools. Still a Knipex for 15 bucks. It was like 50% off. Great price. Might as well. You know, also, previously my mom's using my worn. Like, I had some Crescents that were like spring-loaded. Kind of nice. I used them. Had those since during high school, I want to say. I picked them up. She got those because she's worried about wrecking the nice tools. Well, now there's nice tools that might not be the really nice tools, if that makes sense. Or the ones I care about less, at least. So, we need some more light here. There we go. So what is in this bag? Well, it's something that is going to keep me from being a little chilly we might have hit a high of 52 today. That's American Fahrenheit units for those of you out there. Though I think most of my viewer base is I think it's America and then UK. I was expecting Canada, but you know, I forget where it went from there. But let's get this cracked open. This came in before the tariffs, right when they were worried. I think the shipment of this actually got delayed though, because they were worried that tariffs would have affected it. Now we have this little guy that's for cutting like rope and stuff like that, or cable ties. It does not work great for something like, see how it doesn't want to pull through. Whereas, you know, if we just want to be careful because this is apparel. Remember, I'm gonna keep me a little bit warmer here. And that, those of you that follow Linus Tech Tips will know what this is. Let's give you a 1x zoom there. Also, I want to say appreciation to those of you that are new here and have subscribed. Since I announced we have hit 500 subs. We've had a little bit of a rush once we hit 500 because I did share. Normally, I don't share on other places like, oh, hey, where the subscribers were at. Every now and then I'll share a video, or if I think one of my videos applies to something that's like relevant in the news, especially the tech news, you know, I'll like reshare videos being like, hey, I had one that I reshared a bunch that like, hey, I made a video a long time ago about how the reason why your laptop is slow is not the CPU, it's everything else. Modern CPUs can, unless you're doing 4K video editing and stuff like that, like, you know, heavy work stuff, but for your average person, even your average office person has a job, your memory, your SSD are actually going to be a bigger issue as long as it's even a semi, like a 6th gen or newer, probably, CPU from Intel. You really should be on 8th gen or newer for Windows 11, and they even upped those to now 11th gen or newer because Intel does not support the graphics on older than 11th gen anymore. They don't do updates to the graphics driver. So that got kind of updated even further. But back onto those notes, appreciate all you guys and gals that are subscribing. Hopefully you enjoy the content and you stay. As always, throw stuff down below if you have questions. If you see something in one of the videos and you want me to make like a longer video on it, or if you have contents, comments, corrections. Also, all of these are coming to all of you unedited. I ain't got the time. Apologies. So unless somebody else has got the time, we're going to continue pumping this stuff out. So might be a little bit long-winded. Probably am right now. Share those timestamps. You know, you'll get a like. You'll get a upvote, a thumbs up. You might even get a pin if they're relevant. We've done it in some other ones where like, hey, actual video starts at the 30-minute mark. Oof, I feel that, but also true. I looked at it. But those of you that are here wouldn't be here if you didn't want to be, you know, or hopefully. But this is the new framework hoodie from LTT. I do like their hoodies. You likely saw me in their LTT Labs plain black one in the previous video. This is, no, that's not printed. Let's give you a 5x zoom on this. That is embroidered. Those are stitches. This entire design is embroidered. We'll see, but I believe this is very similar to their standard hoodie, which, like the Labs one, which is like a more generic version of their WAN show / tech linked, but with like all the extra, without all the extra zippers and bright logos and stuff like that. There you go, vendor. For this, what they did is they actually reached out to Framework, having, like, I watched the WAN show, and what they did is they reached out to Framework and said, hey, would you be interested in making a hoodie that's embroidered, where we literally take your PCB and embroider that onto fabric. So this isn't embroidered after the fact, the fabric's embroidered, and then they make the hoodie. Look, even the hood is embroidered, and then they sew the hoodie out of the embroidered fabric. And they requested, like, hey, can you literally just scan one of your PCBs and make that, and we'll make that into a repeating pattern. Turns out they couldn't. If you see, here's some crinkling. Oh, here's the paper. There's some paper here. Anybody know why that's in there? Let me know. Why's that gotta be? That's in all their shirts and stuff. I'm not a... Well, you see what I wear. My fanciest shirt right now is probably my Gundam button-up that I wore to one of our last big... Look at that little snip. I don't think I have my... This, for those wondering, is exactly the type of scissors you want to use for something like this right here, where there's just a little loose. There we go. So they reached out and they're like, so get yourself one of these if you're ever doing any sort of sewing. I use them for leather work, bracelets. If you've ever done like the tied knot bracelets with beads, super handy, super cheap. Get the Fiskars ones. I would think when it comes to maybe not necessarily just sewing, but like tailor work, I know there's a lot of higher end scissors for that. But if you just want a quality scissors, that's going to be sharp, that it can get expensive, but isn't like, you know, sell parts of your body expensive, just pick up Fiskars. You can even get them at Walmart now. They're at least to a level of quality. And I actually really like their new utility blades, even though, where'd my knife even go? It's a good question. Even though they don't work with the Tuck XL here, I use the DeWalt carbides, since they're cheaper than the Stanley carbide, if I recall correctly. Or no, the Stanley carbide might be cheaper than... They're basically the same knife, because DeWalt owns Stanley. But these were, in my opinion, the best. I was running Stanley for the longest time. Then DeWalt was what was available in store at Home Depot. And then Project Farm did a test, and he also found the DeWalt carbides, and they outperformed the Stanley. I think that's just the blades he got or something, because they're literally made in the same factory. But those are my preferred ones. Above that, though, even, like in Bob the Box Cutter here, we have the Fiskars. And these are about, I feel like for a utility knife, these are, there you go. So the reason why they don't work with the Tuck XL is the hole in the middle, which is needed for some of their tools like scrapers and stuff. Made in the USA also. I don't remember if the DeWalt one is or isn't. But these are almost as sharp as like X-Acto blades. And for a box cutter, that is impressive. So Bob can take them, but not my go-to, which is the Tuck XL, sadly. I do actually, I like their just simple, straightforward, actual Fiskars knives are really nice as well. Simple. A lot utility knives, they keep trying to make them like freaking Transformers and laser guns and stuff, and they don't need it. Back to this though. So you may be able to tell it's a repeating pattern of cooler, RAM slots. This would be your CPU here, or in CPU GPU combo. That looks like an Intel based on the size and width, which is this here. Because when they started putting these bigger and bigger, the XE graphics on them, the die was already always, probably since the Core 2 Duo and especially the Quad, was this long skinny guy, and that almost only happened more and more. And then as the iGPU got bigger and bigger and bigger, it started to stack out longer and longer rather than being more of a square shape. Let's see here. That's going to be a display connector, which would be the same as brain, circle, over here on that one. Yeah, I think they're mirrored, and like they're not just flipped, they're flipped and mirrored. So these are a bunch of ICs. That's going to be something like a either Wi-Fi. That's the M.2 slot more than likely. See, because there's a little chunk and a big chunk, and it goes over here. That might not make sense with that connector there though, because that's probably the video out from my experience. They look very similar to that. Over here we have external plugs, two there. Makes sense since on the framework they have these modules that are just USB-C that you slot into the side and you can lock in. And there's two on each side. Those are probably those two Type-C, or the 4 Type-C ports there. Fan, obviously. And actually from this line over, where the fan would stop here, that's actually the heatsink under a shroud, more than likely. And then there'd be heat pipes that come over to here. You know, heat pipe goes. This is VRM, so there'd be like here's where the heat pipes would be over. Then there'd be a piece like a bottom like heat plate, or even a vapor chamber that would go over this whole chunk here to cool your VRM, your chokes, your all that sorts of stuff. I've had laptops part before on the channel, but yeah. So it seems like this is your board, like your framework board. I'm guessing it's the framework 13. And then for this, they flipped it into over there. What they did say is they couldn't give them an exact, what do you want to call it, like thing of their PCB, because like instead of saying vendor, that would actually say like the manufacturer and stuff like that. We now have a kitten named Paisley Marie. Yeah, you're on my new hoodie. You better not get your claws into it. What are you doing? Oh, you are not making a home on the new hoodie. Nope. Oh, so they did change it up, because these are, every now and then, they make the fan into a framework logo. You can see right there. Rather than the little blades from the blower style fan. Let's see if I can flip this over neatly and bop you guys in the face. I think the patterning gets a little bit more complex on the front because of attaching the arms and our pouch. This already rubbed on the kitten, so it's already got in here. You can see on the inside, this is all embroidered. Really soft on the inside. This is not the same as their Terry. Like I was saying with the labs, it's not exactly the same. I can tell you it's a little bit stiffer, thicker maybe. And that was likely done because of all the embroidery. It does hold its shape quite a bit better than that Terry too, probably because of all the stitches. It's kind of like when you put either a bead into a piece of metal, like where they bend it purposely to stiffen it, or where they add like reinforcement, like you'll see it like like wood added on the backside of another piece to reinforce it and stuff like that. Same stuff. That's why like an L channel or a C channel or an I beam is stronger, is because it is the shape it is. You know, like if you have this bend here versus just this piece, it's gonna be, you know, good in those two ways. If you have a C channel, which is like this, you have, you know, like more, and an I even more so. So I have a feeling that the kitten has a little owie on her here, but I have a feeling that that's what happened with this fabric too. Is already is it a little bit more, it's a little bit, I wouldn't say rougher, because it's smoother on the inside than the terry. Well, let's just go and grab that hoodie. I just threw it in the wash. Let's go, Piz. Come on. Let's go. Oh, we gotta go over King Arthur. Alright. Let's grab. Here it is. I don't even know if I did this one on. Oh, it does have some of the pockets. Oh, that's pants, not. Whoops. Oh, not hoodies. Hoodie, hoodie, where are you? Hoodie, hoodie, I know you. There you go, our little buddy. So, here is the Labs by comparison with cat fur. Always get cat fur with black. So, I don't know if you can see the texture difference. It is different. You can see even the color black is different on the inside. And this is, as far as I can tell, basically the same as, you can see that's where the French terry comes from, is this, these loops on the backside here, right? If we look at here, that's not the case here. It's more of a fuzz. So don't expect this to be the same as, I picked up this because it'll look a little bit nicer at work. Since it's just straight black, you can throw this on being an IT and not have any issues. You know, if you just want another layer sometimes. I try not to get it all full fur, but you know, normally I can wear a hoodie for a week without it getting stinky and whatnot. But at the end of that, that's why I was in the wash. Kind of gets to that point. But yeah, so this is a slightly different fabric than would be if you are used to their normal, like I would say their second gen WAN hoodie, their Tech Quickie hoodie, and later on the Labs, which is like a simplified version of the other hoodies. It's not like the Stealth 1 or the Stealth 2 at all. You know, so it cut so far seems to be very similar to the two hoodies I mentioned, or the Labs one that I just picked up that was plain black, and you know, the WAN slash Tech Quickie. Not first gen. First gen WAN was based on a G-Force hoodie that I believe Linus got from a LAN party that NVIDIA had put on. There are definitely a couple stringies on here. Ooh, yeah, this definitely feels more premium. I mean, it is not cheap. So let's see here. You know, I won't even be able to see. You know what, you guys? Let's put you on the 0.5. 0.5. Yeah. You got the cats doing cat things. King was trying to clean Paisley. Alright, so there's that. You can kind of see I now have CPU and RAM slots on my Arm and Framework logo. I think they did that tastefully. They wanted to partner with somebody, I think, because they wanted to use, well, obviously Linus is invested in Framework, not all that greatly though, with how much money they're going through. But apparently they could use it, and this is their new. They call these like extra thick strings, I think, or something. I don't know. They seem pretty normal. They do have the ends screwed on. One thing that I know I've ran into is this end here is still, it even has little LTT logos on the end, can still get pulled through this eyelet. So you still need to either knot them, or you need to put one of those things like you would put on the pull tab on your sweatpants or your shoes for kids, where it's like a spring thing, something like that. And you can put them on here, and then they don't pull on through. And you can easily take those off for the wash if needed. Otherwise, in the wash or under regular use, this is going to get pulled through. I've even had cats jump up, grab it, and just, not with this exact one, but with their other hoodies. Yeah, I normally I prefer the zip-up hoodies like this, and I rock them open, get some ventilation going. I don't know, I seem to want the extra coverage on my arms. And you're like, why not just wear a long sleeve shirt? Because then I can't take it off. I've just never liked the long sleeve shirt. I'd rather just add another layer personally. And then if I do get cold, like, or you get the chills or whatever, you zip her up, and then your heat stops venting out the front, and you can warm up pretty quick. Throw on the hood too, because your head's got a lot of heat in there. If you need to, let's do a hood test, because I often do not like a lot of LTT's hoodies, though the Labs one is better because it's a more shallow hoodie. Some of theirs, they do this. I don't know, this is not as bad as the Stealth Pro, where it starts getting here. And yes, that's where you'd use this, but then that closes it up even more. You kind of got to then put it there. You know, that's not too bad, because this hood is shaped decently well. You know, I think a little bit of tension on the hood here does help it keep its shape a little bit. But some of theirs have been like full-on hoods. Like, you could be somebody like a Jedi Master with how far it hides your face, which is not actually, most times it's actually detrimental for me, because I'm trying to use it at a computer desk over here, or watching a TV show or something, and it's like going past my face because it's so big. So they seem to have corrected that on newer ones. And especially like the Labs one fit better. This one, as you saw, a little bit long, only hangs over just slightly. You can pull it back a little bit. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I know a lot of you would definitely not spend the money on the full embroidered one, as it is not cheap on their website. But it was a cool idea that they wanted to introduce. And I can tell you that this is definitely some IT tech swag. You walk into work with one of these, and it'll be pretty sick. And we're getting right into that season where, because like I said, just crested 50. Obviously, still going under that at night, but pretty soon I can be ditching. I already ditched the downed, very cold jacket, and now I'm to that. But pretty soon we can get to just this, or maybe a Carhartt over this. So we'll what I mean by that is, like, I have like a jacket button up, just to add another layer. I know I come from a very quickly changing temperature climate, so I like being able to add layers, even in the building. Sometimes you're in a building, it's 5:30, everybody's gone, that HVAC hasn't kicked in yet and normalized the temperature. You're gonna be freezing your ass off for at least a half hour to an hour and a half, until it does figure its shit out. And wearing the jacket isn't always the best option when you're trying to use that sort of stuff. So hopefully we'll see in the next one. What will be in the next one? Well, it's going to be those guys, one of those two down there. So keep an eye out. You'll see me in the new hoodie because I'll be wearing this guy quite a lot going forward. Hopefully you'll see you. Hit subscribe, like, at the Prophecist on just about everything. Peace.